In 1972, Peter Roberts completed a diploma of primary teaching here at Avondale. He spent a lifetime empowering students of all ages. Even in retirement, his heart for service hasn't wavered. Peter Roberts is the 2022 Alumnus of the Year. Peter, congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's a surprise, actually.
It's a good surprise.
Yes.
I'll start with an easy one. Can you
Right.
tell us where you and Glenda are currently living and what's keeping you busy?
3.5 years ago, we moved to Avondale Retirement Village, and we live in Alton Villas on Alton Road. And since we've been here, I have worked for 3 years as a volunteer in the Avondale University Library. But our main position now is to look after the bookstore at the Adra Morisset op shop.
Now, you spent a bit of time with Glenda teaching overseas, and you would have raised your young family there for a couple of years at least.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are some of the challenges of raising a young family in a developing country?
Sonoma was such a great place. We had 10 expatriate families. It was close enough to drive to Rabaul. The kids loved it. It still is in their minds. The kids loved it. We loved it. It was easy. And you're out in the country, in the bush, you might say, and Sonoma was a very pleasant place to be. In the Solomons, we had quite a few scary moments in between 2009 and 2017 because of the tension that was there and the rascals, you might call them. One Saturday night, I took two teacher trainees with me down on the edge of Honiara to get some snacks for the evening. We usually showed movies. And I think that was the only time I actually felt a bit afraid, although these two Malayan guys said, "Don't be, we're with you." We got out of the car. You could smell the drugs, you could smell the alcohol, you could smell the smoke. Went into the Chinese shop, and the Chinese lady said, "What are you doing here? Get home as quick as possible." And they were behind wire, serving behind wire. I said, "Here's $50, give me $50 worth of biscuits." But it was a little, I think if I'd been there by myself, it could have got ugly. But because I had two good Malayan guys with me, it didn't. And I think that's the only time in all the time we spent in the three countries that I felt a little bit shaken.
Let's talk about the teacher training program that you and Glenda set up. Can you just give us an idea, for those who don't know what that is, can you give us an idea of what that actually is? Because you dedicated a really large part of your retirement to that. Yeah,
10 years. We took a year off from Macquarie College. Our doctor just said that we needed a break, and I had it fully intended to go back. But in that year off, we went out to Fiji and stayed with good friends of ours, Tony and Laurel Hay. Tony was principal of Fulton College at the time, and he just received a letter from the Ministry of Education in Honiara in the Solomon Islands from one of the undersecretaries, who was an Admetus guy, wanting to know whether Fulton could set up a program to train untrained teachers, because there were many, he was talking about government teachers at the time. About a quarter of all teachers in the Solomons at that time were untrained. And Tony said to me, "Can you do this? Would you like to set this up?" Anyway, it turned out that the government in Solomon Islands wasn't ready to do it, but the Trans-Pacific Union Mission was ready to do it. So it took me probably 6 to 8 months to write a program, and it was a program to give these untrained teachers an initial certificate of education, teacher training. So I suppose it took me 8 months to put it all together before we actually started with the first group in Vanuatu in July 2007. And then it went on till the middle of 2017. You spent
so much time so putting that together. Do you know how many teachers have been trained through that program?
About 350 teachers,
Mm.
about 50 in each group. Most had been teaching for a while. Some of the older ladies had been teaching for up to 20 years without being trained. And we didn't go in there as we know everything. We looked at them as colleagues and we're learning together.
You and Glenda both put a lot into that program. Tell me, what did it actually take from you personally to get it up and running?
A lot of time. Because not only did we write it, but we also did monitoring trips in Vanuatu. And that was 2 to 3 weeks also, apart from the teaching.
That's a huge effort and commitment.
Yeah.
Mm.
We enjoyed it.
So you and Glenda have worked a lot as a team. How does that work? How does that operate? Who's the captain?
Well, when we first got married, she was going into her 5th year of teaching. I was going into my 1st. So I was at Camberville High School in PNG. She became the head of English, and I was teaching English. So the principal said she was my mentor, come whatever. So for that 1st year, she told me what to do.
Just the 1st year?
Well, she said, after about 6 weeks, she said, you know what you're doing anyway. So that's how that worked at Camberville. When we went to Sonoma, I was head of education and she was a lecturer under me. And then at both Mooloolaba and Macquarie College, I was in primary and she was in high school. So that was clearly separation there. No, but we have always been a team. And I think it works fairly well.
Can you tell me about a time possibly where you came in contact with a student that you would have previously taught and that they've been able to share with you the impact that you've had on their life?
Just thinking about that, because one of the things that came to my mind, we were sitting in a friend's home in Mooloolaba years ago. We'd had Sabbath lunch there, and our kids and their kids were downstairs playing. I taught 3 of their 4 kids. And the lady of the house said to me, out of the blue, she said, "Don't you ever do anything wrong?" And I looked at her and I said, "Why?" She said, "Because you'll take a lot down with you." And that stuck in my mind for years. But Glenda just found this from a kid that we taught in Mooloolaba. He wrote something to both of us not long ago, and this is only part of it. It said, "It should also be noted that your classes made a large impact on my life. As an adult looking back, I now realise that my exuberantly chaotic Lord of the Flies childhood in PNG became ordered." He was a missionary's kid as well. "It became ordered, structured, and I became more self-aware under your guidance and leading. In my experience, for every person that thanks you in life, there are 10 who, although deeply grateful, never bother." So that you hope that there are plenty, and there are others, but it does give you a lift when someone remembers.
Yeah, I bet it does. Those are some really lovely and powerful words.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean to you to receive this acknowledgement, to receive this Avondale Award of being the Alumnus of the Year?
To be honest, I hadn't thought about it, but Avondale has always been, I've got to be careful here, has always been very close to both of us. Both our children graduated from Avondale. We did our master's degree there and graduated there. So Avondale is always part of our psyche, I suppose you could say. And that's where I walk every morning, right up University Drive, round the buildings and back again. So it's part of us. So yes, we are very, very thankful.
Well, Peter, in the words of your daughter, you put 200% into everything you do. You view life through a lens saturated in service to make this world a better place. So thank you for what you've given, for for what you've sacrificed and what you've shared. Peter, you are the 2022 Alumnus of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, there's more to Peter's story, so I encourage you to head to our Avondale Alumni Facebook page or to our website to read more about his life. And if you'd like to send Peter a message, just comment on the post, or you can send me an email at alumni@avondale.edu.au.